Here we go. AFC Championship game. It is Sunday at 6:30 on CBS. The Chiefs are laying 2 points at Arrowhead. The Chiefs are minus 130 on the money line. The Bills are plus 110. Your total set at 47 and a hook. This spread has inched up from Kansas City minus 1.5. Now the total has come down a half point from 48. Here we are. Number one seeds in this position, 20-5 straight up in the playoffs since 2003. Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs in his career, 16-3 straight up. I feel like this is going to be one of those games where everyone is on Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and I have learned my lesson. Betting against Patrick Mahomes is generally a fool's errand. I want to talk myself off of it because personally, I want the Bills to win. I want a changing of the guard, at least for one season in the AFC. But I don't know if I can talk myself off of betting for Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs, every time I doubt these guys, they come home.
Well, especially this season when it feels like they have some type of voodoo magic working for them, whether it's like, these wild ending to these games or, it feels like the referees kind of have a penchant for protecting Patrick Mahomes. So it's just one of those things that maybe I'm not going to bet on the Chiefs, but I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs. Yeah. So I feel like I'm going to kind of be a coward and not bet a side in this game. But there are some other things that I kind of have my eye on. For the second week in a row, you can get Travis to score a touchdown at plus money. Travis Kelce used to be somebody who was in the minus 160 range for scoring touchdowns. And I understand he has not had the prolific season that he's had in the past, but the guy is still an absolute staple in the postseason. And we saw Travis Kelce turn into postseason Kelce just last week. Scored a touchdown, had a huge game with, I believe, over 100 receiving yards. So maybe he doesn't have that big of a game here against the Bills. When it comes to matchups, at least when it comes to like the grid of like fantasy points against, the Bills are pretty good at defending the tight end position, but Travis Kelce feels like one of those guys that it doesn't really matter the matchup. He's going to get his looks, he's going to get his targets, and he's really hard to defend. So I still think if you're looking at anytime touchdowns, that is a really good look at plus 130. His receiving prop has gone up quite a bit. Last week it was 51.5, which was kind of laughable. This week, 68.5. Juice the over at minus 125. I still think there's a good shot that he gets this, but that touchdown at plus 130, I think that's a solid play.
I love that. I was looking at that as well. And I know it seems like a square play, but at plus 130, I mean, you're right. This used to be one of the juiciest plays you could make at any point in an NFL season. Regular season, playoffs didn't matter. And as we were talking about earlier, this is perfect for Travis Kelce, especially if we think the Chiefs are going to win this game, because where does Travis Kelce make his living? In the middle of the football field. And that's the area in which the Bills defense is a bit vulnerable, right? So I don't know if you saw that supercut of Travis Kelce last week, and even though he had a monster game, 7 receptions, 117 yards, and a touchdown, there were numerous other times during that game where he was wide open. He was going crazy because he'd wave for the football, and either Patrick Mahomes was looking elsewhere, didn't see him, whatever it was. Travis Kelce was open even more than it seemed like last week. This is his time of year. I think he can exploit that Bills defense at the second level, and he has 20 touchdowns in 20 playoff games. These great players, they know when to come alive. We knew the Chiefs were going to come alive last week against the Texans. That's what they do. And if you can get a bet like this at plus 130, especially considering the past, he may not be the Travis Kelce of old, but he can still come home and score a touchdown just like he did last week. So I'm going to be on this at plus 130 as well. It's a lot of value there.
Yeah, especially in the red zone. He doesn't have to run far. So maybe he's lost a step. Maybe he looks like, a lumbering gorilla when he's in the middle of the field. But still, if it's the red zone, this is the guy that you trust in the postseason. We saw this with Brady and Gronk, to where, number one, they're both big guys. They're tight ends for a reason. And they're such a mismatch for some of these guys on the secondary on the defense. So I feel like that's my favorite play in this game. I'm not sure what to play on the other side, though, because Josh Allen's spreading the football around. Maybe you look at a rushing prop for Josh Allen, because in general, I'm a huge fan of rushing props for quarterbacks in the postseason. And this is a massive game for Josh Allen. I know in this particular season, obviously it's the AFC Championship. It's a big game. But Josh Allen is also 0-3 against the Chiefs in the playoffs. And we know how those games have gone. He's played hero ball. It's not been enough. So I feel like when you take that into account, that's going to translate into Josh Allen taking over this game. I would not be surprised if he has a big day on the ground. Rushing prop for him, 47.5, or you could go with rushing attempts. 9.5 is pretty high, so I think I'll just go with either rushing yards at 47.5, or his longest rush is 12.5. So I think either of those are pretty good looks when it comes to Josh Allen.
I like that a lot. And I would also look at maybe a Patrick Mahomes rushing prop as well.
Yeah.
I know you don't generally think of Patrick Mahomes as a runner. He's certainly not the runner that Josh Allen is, but we've seen this time and time again. Patrick Mahomes he's slippery, right? He just finds a way to slither out of the pocket and pick up yards. And not only that, Chelsea, he's finally healthy, because for a while there, he had a banged up ankle, finally got some rest, and he looked healthy last week against the Texans running the ball. His rushing prop is set at 24.5. Yeah, it's right there, maybe a touch higher than I want it to be. But I wouldn't mind playing either one of these props. If you like one or the other, take your pick. But I think we're going to see these guys take off. Patrick Mahomes, an underrated rusher. And Josh Allen, I think I like even more, because he's just going to have to do more. That's why it's he and Lamar neck and neck for MVP. Because once Stephon Diggs was traded away, we knew the Bills are going to put more of the onus of their offense on Josh Allen to get it done with his legs, with his arm. And also, don't you think when it's playoff time, Josh Allen's not one to really slide anyway. But if he has to put his head down and get that extra yard, especially in this game, in the AFC Championship game, he's going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to Patrick Mahomes, I think I like the rushing attempts prop a little bit better, because I think I'm still a little PTSD'd from, I think it was in the Super Bowl, and I had Patrick Mahomes rushing prop, and at the end of the game, he ran back 10 steps and lost 10 yards. And there goes the rushing prop for Patrick Mahomes. Something you have to consider when you bet on quarterback rushing props. If they're ahead in the game and there's kneel downs, those can cost you. So the attempts prop for Patrick Mahomes, he ran the ball 7 times last week. And there is a huge uptick between him and the regular season and the postseason when it comes to attempts and rushing. I think that's the way to go. Over 4.5 is minus 105. I think that's the play I like the best if you're going to bet on Patrick Mahomes running the football.
Ooh, I think I like that one. Yeah, because I was thinking about what you said about, taking those steps back at the end of a game. How many times have we seen a quarterback rushing prop go to die because a guy takes a few steps back, decides to kneel? Those are the worst.
Or at halftime.
That's true.
Before the half.
Because these numbers are so sharp, as you know, that sometimes if you're gonna bet the over on one of these rushing props, a lot of times they'll hit by a yard or two. These numbers are super sharp, especially this time of year, and all it takes is that step back, and all of a sudden you're like, you got to be kidding me. Although last week, where the Chiefs took that safety, I mean, depending on what side you were on, that's one of the worst beats I've seen in a long time.